right, hi everybody. This is Karen Miller with BillingsWorks. I'm excited to bring to you today the 2020 State of the Workforce Report. It is ready, completed, and what we would like to do is do a quick presentation to highlight some of the data and information so that you can get a good idea of our current and future state of the workforce for Yellowstone County. As many of you know, this is a really important strategic goal for BillingsWorks to collect, curate, synthesize, and analyze information so we can provide it to our community stakeholders so that we can make well-informed decisions as we continue to build programs to work on our workforce challenges. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk through some of the highlighted data points of this year's report. Okay, first thing that is important to note is that this year's report looks a little different than previous years. That is due to the fact that we have had an economic impact from COVID-19, and we didn't want to ignore this information or data as it really does affect the makeup of our workforce. So the report is separated into two sections. The first section is quantitative data that we have collected in the past, as well as employer feedback. And that feedback was retrieved this year by the Montana Chamber's Employer Survey that was conducted in October of 2019. Then the second section is quantitative data and a survey that was put out by the Response and Recovery Team for Yellowstone County that is directly related to COVID-19. And so with those two pieces coming together, we can get a better idea of what we are looking at as far as the workforce for Yellowstone County. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in to the first chunk of information. Okay, so as I said, section 1 is going to be quantitative data that we have collected, as well as employer feedback from the Montana Chamber Employer Survey. So real quick, this is always good information. What are we looking at and what are we really talking about when we think of our workforce challenge? So if you look at this, this is a great graph that describes it really nicely. You see that gold kind of mustard yellow line, 83,603. That is how many people we have in Yellowstone County of workforce age, so 16 to 65. So that's how many people we have in that age range that we say are able to work, are able to participate in the workforce. Then that light blue line, 79,824. Of that 83,603, that's how many people of that age range are already in the workforce. So they already have a job and are participating in the workforce. So then that accounts for our low unemployment rate, that dark blue line, of 3.7%. Now last year, 2 years ago, this report had an unemployment rate of 3.4%. So while we have increased that, what this is telling us is that there is still a narrow distance between how many people can be in the workforce and how many people already are in the workforce, meaning we don't have a large pool of surplus to pull from. Now again, this is prior to COVID-19, and so some of these numbers and projections may change as we move forward. Okay, so this is interesting. The population of Yellowstone County, 160,137. And then our population growth. So from 2015 to 2018, over that 3-year span, we only saw population growth of 1.97%. So if you divide that up by 3 years, that's not even 1% growth per year, which is basically saying we are not growing at a quick pace. We are growing very slowly. In fact, sometimes not necessarily growing really at all. And this aspect of not having a large population growth and not having enough people for the workforce is really what the data we found in this year's report, that's what this is affirming. And that's what we are indicating is the major pain point of our workforce development situation. It's simply a shortage of people. Okay, so this is a teeny tiny graph, little bitty numbers that I'm guessing you cannot see. That's okay, you can get this in the report. This is our 10-year projections of our top industries, total industries, but also the top rated industries for Yellowstone County. So if you look across, what this is telling us is that's important for us to look at in the forecast is how many people are projected to exit these industries. Now, again, these are your high-level industries. So this should cover all of the occupations in Yellowstone County. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, this is what we pay attention to often are the totals of exits from the workforce, as well as the totals as far as economic growth. So how many jobs are going to be created due to our economy growing? So again, if you want these specifics for each industry, you can certainly find that easier probably in the full report. But this is what we picked out of this projection data. So this year, our 10-year projections for Yellowstone County in all industries, we are projected to have 41,294 exits of the workforce. Now that's not transfers within jobs, that's true exits. So people retiring or they're at an age where they could actually pass on and not be alive anymore. So true exits of the workforce. Then we had 3,251 growth. So that's economic growth is creating more jobs. And so we're creating more positions. What's interesting is that last year, or 2 years ago in this data, so the data from the 2017 report, we had 42,683 exits from the workforce. So relatively similar, but still a little bit lower than we're projected to have now. But this growth disparity is interesting. So in 2017, we were projecting 7,660 new positions due to economic growth. What's interesting about this is that we are actually projected to have less exits and less growth. Now that doesn't mean that we are not going to experience a workforce shortage. In fact, these projections are lower because we are not projected to have our full pool of population grow. And when your population is not projected to grow, our projections are going to be smaller or less than they would be if we were projected to have a total pool of population that would grow. So again, what these numbers are telling us is that we really just have a shortage of growth and of people in Yellowstone County. Okay, again, this is interesting, showing not a growth. This is a projected high school enrollment. So if you look at fiscal year 19, 5,402 projected enrollment high school students for the Billings Public School Districts. And then you see that actually is declining. So from fiscal year 2019 down all the way to the lowest point, fiscal year 2027, we're gonna have just under 3,000 enrollment actually decrease. And then you'll see that spike up a little bit again in fiscal year 2028. Now, some of that could be the fact that we have Lockwood High School that added and pulled some students from the district. But really, again, this is telling us that our population is not growing to the point where we project to have a bunch of high school students enrolling in our high schools. Okay, so that was a really, really quick snapshot of the quantitative data in this year's report. Again, there is a lot more within the full report that we know is useful, but those were big chunks that we took away. Now we're going to go through the employer survey that this Montana Chamber actually put out. So real quick, who took this survey? So just so you know, there were, let me get that number correct, 228, so 228 respondents in this survey. And of those, most of them, over 50% of them, were CEOs, presidents, and owners of a business. So that was the bulk of the respondents. And then the other ones were high-level managers, HR personnel, recruiters. Of that population, on your left is showing the industry breakdown of what industries those respondents represented. So number one is professional, scientific, and technical services. Then, of course, healthcare and social assistance, which we know is a big industry for Yellowstone County, and then other services. I was pleasantly surprised and pleased to see that construction was the number 4 industry, so we have good representation of the trades there. And then if you look at the right hand of the screen, this is the breakdown of those organizations' size as far as respondents go. So the number one organization size of the respondents was 11 to 99 employees. that makes sense. That's the largest range of our businesses. And then the second was our 100+ employees. So our large organizations here in Yellowstone County are making up the respondents for this survey. Okay, so what did they say? Here are two major talking points that we wanted to highlight. So when asked if they were satisfied with the availability of skilled workers, and the response was either a yes or a no. So no real in between, a yes or a no. 28.7% said yes, that they are satisfied with the availability of skilled workers. Now, that tells us that 71.3% of respondents actually said no to that. Now, if you go to the right hand, another question, do you believe that there is adequate preparation of high school students? So are students being prepared adequately once they graduate high school? Is that a successful system right now? Again, this was a yes or no answer. Same percentage, 28.7% of respondents said yes, meaning that 71.3% said no. To me, these percentages seem pretty dire and negative. I want to point out two things. One, again, we believe a major aspect, contributing aspect to these responses is a sheer lack of available human beings to employers. So they're not satisfied with the availability of skilled workers because they simply can't find the workers. They're not satisfied with the adequate preparation of high school students because when high school students graduate and they come to the employer, they don't have those high school students. A lot of high school students either are not in the workforce or they are leaving to go on to pursue post-secondary education or opportunities elsewhere. And again, there's just a small pool of even that workforce. So keep that in mind with these numbers. Another important factor is, I love surveys, but I think it's important for us to know that surveys capture one moment in time, and these responses are very subjective. And so this is like, it's like the school picture phenomenon. You know, you have one picture of yourself on one day to represent your whole grade of that year in school. So I might have looked like crap on picture day in 2nd grade, but for my memory and my parents, that picture represents what I looked like in 2nd grade. So this is kind of how these survey results matter, these subjective ones, is, you know, keep in mind that it could just be a bad day or somebody's upset, but not to disregard or discount these responses, because we definitely have to do better as far as making sure our employers do feel satisfaction with the preparation of our workforce, as well as with the skill set and the numbers. Okay, so moving on. Difficulty filling positions. This is not surprising. This has been relatively steady with past reports. Entry level and mid-level being our most difficult positions to hire. In fact, they're very similar. Entry level, mid-level, you know, in the early 60% saying these are the positions that are difficult to hire. With a senior level position, less difficulty there, 35.7%. And let's figure out why that is. Again, this data is going to continue to make the case that it's a sheer low number of human bodies, applicants, workforce. That is a major contributing factor to our challenges. So the #1 reason for difficulty at every entry, mid, and senior level hiring is low number of applicants. Then you can see in each of those other ones, entry level, mid-level, senior level, what was the #2 and #3 reason. You're looking at, we have lack of interpersonal skills at the entry level. We've heard that, lack of soft skills, employability skills, unwillingness to accept offered pay, consumption, and then mid-level, lack of relevant work experience, and then lack of necessary education level, certification, or training at that mid-level. Senior level, same as mid-level, lack of relevant work experience. And then the same as the entry level, which is an unwillingness to accept the offered pay compensation. So just interesting how there's some patterns rising to the top across these levels with what's causing challenges for our employers when it comes to hiring. All right, so this is a new question that the Montana Chamber asked directly related to the Department of Labor and Industry. So they wanted to know how employers, if employers were utilizing the workforce development programs offered by DLI. And so if you look at the right-hand pie chart, 55% of the respondents said they have never used a program or have never engaged with the Department of Labor and Industry with a workforce component. 26.8% occasionally used, 12% have used in the past, and then 6% use them frequently. And on the right, why is that? So really, the number one response was it just wasn't relevant to their business. They were not aware of the programs that exist, which you know, we get that a lot. It's hard to communicate all the things that you do with our community, or they feel like the work is not necessarily focused on the type of worker that they need. So again, really good information for us to share with our partners at Department of Labor and Industry. Okay, so when asked expanding their total employment, these were the challenges that they believe they are facing with when employers are asked about the expansion of their total employment. And so again, I sound a little bit like a broken record, but I think it's important to continue to really re-emphasize this point: a lack of available skilled workers, 58.6%. So again, I don't have the people, the bodies aren't there. And then the number one, or the second reason, 32% competition with existing markets. So we hear this a lot, that we poach from one another. Again, I would say that's a factor of not having enough people, because we don't have enough people not working. Where are we going to recruit our talent from? People who are already in a position that we have to actually poach from to fill our needed positions. All right, so again, really quick overview of section 1. Lots more information around the Yellowstone County, the makeup, the demographic breakdown, a lot of information about our education systems in there as well. So please do refer to that and use that extensively. Let's jump into section 2, which is directly related to COVID-19 and the impact it's had on our workforce. So this section, this information was also gathered in 2 ways. One was with a survey, and this survey was done by the Economic Response and Recovery Impact team for Yellowstone County, and that was the name of the survey. Great thing is that we had over 600 responses to this survey. So obviously people are affected and want to share that information so that we can do something helpful and supportive for them and with that info. Then we also do have quantitative data gathered for this from JobsIQ, MC, and Department of Labor and Industry as well. So let's go into the survey. So of the 600 responses, this is interesting. We had more than 90% of that 600 number, over 90% said they were somewhat or extremely negatively impacted. That's the impact on their business from COVID-19, over 90%. And then 58.4%, you can see that kind of periwinkle blue color, that was the extremely negative impact. So they're feeling the pain from COVID-19. Now keep in mind, this survey was done in March and April of 2020 when things were really starting. So maybe some of that has changed now that support services, financial support has come into play, or we know more now than we did. But that's interesting. Of this impact on the business, the number one response of impact was a decline in demand of products and services. So that was 59.8%. Said that the impact is just a decline in demand. The number 2 challenge was a challenge in delivering their product or services, right? So very different business models when we're sheltering at home and we're not, and we're social distancing. And then the number 3 challenge was actually obtaining needed product or supply chain inputs. So those were the top 3 reasons for stating impact on their businesses due to COVID-19. All right, let's go into the heart of workforce impact from COVID-19. As you can see here, the survey asked employers if they had to do employee layoffs and furloughs. If you look at that dark blue color and that light blue color, over 40% said that yes, they had to furlough employees or they had to lay off some or all employees. Now, keep in mind that over 40%, so those two chunks combined, that could also just be a reduction of hours. So that could be, you know, yes, I've had to lay off my employee 20% or 60% of their hours as well. And then, of course, you're looking at that gray. That is 29.8% said no, we have not had to reduce the workforce or our workforce, and that they were thinking, you know, we may have to. We're just kind of in this waiting period right now. And then, interestingly to us, that orange is that 27.6% said no, we haven't had to reduce workforce, and they really didn't think they'd have to. So, kind of some interesting numbers there, that it was broken down relatively evenly there. On the right side of your screen, this is looking at that over 40%. So employers who said yes, I've had to furlough employees, or yes, I've had to lay off or reduce workforce. Of this 40%, 29% of those respondents have had to furlough or lay off all of their employees or reduce hours for all of their employees. And then, as you can see, going down, the percentage of employees is broken down. So 29.0% of that 40% had to do all, and then as you drop down into the percentage of employees, you can see that broken down. Okay, so let's look at unemployment insurance claims. So this is an important number for us to pay attention to when we look at impact on the workforce. So as you can see, this light blue line is charting the new uninsurance claims or unemployment insurance claims. That dark blue line is charting existing claims, so they're being reclaimed. So this is existing and they're continuing on. Not surprising, we see a spike right around the middle of March. That blue line, so new claims, really spiked to hit its peak around April 4th with 3,719 new claims. And then you can see that that starts to taper off. That's not surprising, as PPP came in and people were actually bringing their staff back to work, taking them off unemployment, that those numbers would decline, or that people weren't having to go and apply for unemployment because they were able to keep their jobs. Dark blue line, again, you see the peak. Now this is existing claims, right? So it makes sense that this would have a more steady incline. And then we peaked there April 25th at 10,045 existing unemployment insurance claims. Again, that has started to dip down again as people come back to work, and hopefully this is a sign that we're entering a recovery stage. All right, so I really love this map. This is looking at the change in unemployment insurance claims over the span of a year. So if you look here, let me just put my mouse over Yellowstone County there. What this is telling us is that from March of 2019 to looking at the unemployment insurance claims of March 2020, we have 653.5% more unemployment insurance claims now than we did a year ago. This shouldn't be surprising that our top counties of population are going to have the highest number. Here's Gallatin County. They increased 982.4% in unemployment insurance claims from the previous year. Okay, I do want to note that that data is all on mt.gov's Department of Labor and Industries website. So, and they are fantastic at keeping that information and data updated. So please use that as a source if you want more of those numbers on a reoccurring basis. Okay, In addition to looking at our unemployment insurance claims, we also look at job postings. So not only how many people are filing for unemployment, but where are people hiring at still? So if you look at this mustard yellow line, kind of gold color, that's the United States. That light blue line, that is the state of Montana. And then that dark blue line is actually tracking job postings for Yellowstone County. What's interesting, if you look at the middle of March, right, March 17th, Yellowstone County dipped tremendously. So we were really low. We had gone down in the number of job postings we normally have. And then the United States was actually in the middle with Montana, the state of Montana above that, so not experiencing a significant drop that we did. But then as we move along, if you look towards the end, so the end of March, March 21st, you can see that the state of Montana is down 4.2% as far as total job postings. Yellowstone County is down 10.5% of job postings, and then the United States is down 18%. So we actually are now playing in the middle of those two other areas. I will tell you, and DLI also has this information, that of Montana, the highest number of job postings for our state exists within Yellowstone County. So that shouldn't surprise anybody. We have the largest population, but we are still hiring or posting the most job opportunities within our county than anywhere else in the state right now. So we know that we've gone down, we still have the most. Okay, so who's hiring? Of those job postings, who are these people? Who's hiring? This is great data. This is polling job postings for Yellowstone County, and this is rating the occupation. So the total ads, you can see on the right there, and then the occupation on the left. Retail salespeople, number one occupation that's being posted right now. First line supervisors of retail sales workers, and then registered nurses at 91 total ads, and then first line supervisors of food preparation and service workers, number 4, and then food preparation service workers, including fast food, number 5. So interesting that these are industries that were really hard hit. Service industry, food industry, really hard hit. Retail, but now that they were hit so hard, they're also really trying to gather back that workforce. So this is who's posting right now. Important to note, these numbers are not exact. These are just the job postings that we have access to. So we know a lot of times people don't post for a job, or they post for one position, one job ad, when they're really hiring for 10 to 30 of that one position. So this is just a nice little way for us to look at who's hiring, but keep these numbers relative. Okay, I'm gonna move my screen. I'm gonna move my screen down. Okay, so of those job postings, we looked at what was the sought after requested certification in positions. So when we looked at these postings, driver's license was a certification that was the highest sought after that employers, people hiring were requiring. Not surprising. CPR was the second one. RN, again, not surprising, is the third one. First aid, 33. Basic life support, 30. Ads had that. I think the CDLA at the bottom is good for us to pay attention to. And then again, not probably unsurprising, LPNs, CNAs right now. So this is those certifications, requested certifications that people who are looking to hire are looking for ranking order. So let's look at most sought after hard skills. So again, in those job postings, these are the hard skills that are being requested most often in those. Ability to lift 41 to 50 pounds is the number one, down to food preparation, which is at the bottom. But again, this is your hard skill request that people are seeing the most of. I think this information is really important to give to our education and training partners. So as we build programs, retraining opportunities, we know what we should be retraining, equipping displaced workers with as far as skills and certifications. so that they have the best opportunity to get themselves back into the workforce. Here's sought after soft skills. Gotta love communication, verbal and written being number 1. Customer service being number 2. Going down to the bottom of enthusiastic and energetic. So we want some peppy people as well. So again, this is really great for us to provide to our training partners as we continue to strategize what we're going to do now that we have a larger, more filled bench of workforce waiting and wanting to get back into the workforce right now. All right, what does all of that mean? So when we really take the first section, the State of the Workforce Report, which tells us that we are lacking a sheer number of people and our population growth is small, and we match that with the COVID-19 pandemic economic impact, what does that tell us? Well, one, it tells us that we need to continue to partner with our education and training resources in Yellowstone County to make sure that whatever is being taught for education and training is aligning with what the need is for the workforce need. It's not a new goal of BillingsWorks, it's something we should continue on. And then it's interesting too that we know we now have a different state of the workforce as far as we are going to experience a higher percentage of unemployment, and we have displaced workers that we need to figure out, partner on how to get this pool of people back into the workforce as quickly as possible, but also into careers that are necessary, needed, warranted for our community so that they can get into good paying, stable positions. So what does all that mean for us? It means onward. And when I Googled the word onward, this was the image, and this was pretty much the only image that popped up. So Disney and Pixar, you're doing good with your search engine optimization, because this is all I could find. But I haven't seen the movie. I've heard it's very cute. But this is what we do. This is what we continue to do as your private public workforce development branch for Yellowstone County under Big Sky Economic Development. We continue to meet. We continue to have a table. We continue to have open seats so that you can come anytime. We have to do this together. We have to strategize together. We have to share information. And we have to think, how are we going to navigate our situation so that we can thrive economically? So with that, I'm just going to remind you that the 2020 State of the Workforce Report in its entirety is available. It will be at the Big Sky Economic Development website as well as BillingsWorks website. And of course, you can always reach out, and I would be happy to email you personally a link to this. It will live electronically for a little while because of the safety of just staying in our homes and not being transferring goods. So please do access it. Please do use it. We created it to be important and beneficial for you. So with that, thank you so much for listening to this. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to Big Sky Economic Development.